Okay, this is game 2 of Gscpl 6, week 2, and video number 2 of me taking an edible and then rewatching these games with some commentary. Um, I don't really remember anything about this week. Zpice or Zpice is a player with quite a bit of experience in GSCNU. I think he's actually a pretty good builder, and I get inspired by quite a few of the things that he's brought in the past. So I was looking forward to this one, and let's just start it off now. So Octillery lead mirror I go into Chincho and he crits HP Electric. Me bringing Chinchu Octillery is a sign that I am not HP Electric Octillery, as that's very redundant with Chinchu. It also indicates that I'm probably some sort of offensive build, probably have some sort of spikes in the back. Yeah, he goes into Hypnon top as his Thunder switch in. That reveals to me that this is likely spikesless. If you're running Octillery Hitmon top, I would guess that the lasts are like Graveler, it's kind of hard to place. You can run quite a few things, but I think you would want spin support with Octillery Hitmon top. I would assume that you don't have like Gloom with your Grappler if you have Hitmon top, and also if you're switching Hitmon top into Chincho. So maybe it's a Wheezing Octillery team. Yeah, we'll have to see. I go for Thunder Wave. Okay, that's interesting. I'm finding my own clicks interesting. This is Thunder Wave Chinchu, so this is not Rest, so it's probably Surf Thunder or Surf Thunderbolt. And then, like, Light Screen, Ice Beam, Protect, Reflect? Does it get Reflect? I don't know. But yeah, that's very interesting. Most Chinchus are Rest Talk. Thunder Wave, I think, is pretty valuable on it, especially because you don't actually need to be resting that much if its purpose on your team is not to be a water type and just to counter the other water types, which is I think more of how Chinchu should be used, because they can't really kill it very fast. So is rest that necessary? Probably not. But yeah, I landed nice Thunder Wave on the Hitmon top. This is very likely rest, so it's not likely to make a huge impact long term, but makes it very easy for me to switch Pineco in. Hitmon top can be HP Rock, but probably just want to get out of there. Reveals Pseudo Wudo. This is indicating to me even more that this is likely not a Spikes team on Spice's end, and he thiefs my Octillery. I'm okay with that. Really did not want to get thiefed on my Chinchou. He's trying to match my Chinchou with Hitmon top and reveals Spin. Okay, so this is very interesting. This is not Crow top, I guess, is what you would call it, with like Curse, High Jump Kick, Rest Talk. This is Spin HJK, which I don't think is very good because you're walled by Ghastly and Pineco. I think you need to be running HP Rock on Hitmon top with Spin Rest Talk, assuming it is Rest Talk. I guess it could be like HJK, Curse, Rapid Spin HP Rock as like a breaker, but I'm just gonna assume this is Rest Talk HJK, which is very useless into my team. So that's very fortunate for me that Pineco is gonna just be able to basically like stunt all over this thing with Toxic and threatening explosions on certain turns it might rest so that I can keep my spikes up. And especially because Pineco's likely not needed to spin in this game because he probably doesn't. I would be very surprised if you have spikes with Octillery top Sudowoodo. These are 3 mons that like really don't need spikes at all. But yeah, it's also just gonna be free reign for my Xatu, and Xatu is one of the few Pokemon you do not just want to give a free turn to, like, ever. So this is very free real estate, and yeah, he's gonna have a Zatu answer, but it looks kind of cooked, honestly. Like, you don't want to be running in this set and then running into Pineco Zatu, which is like a very likely combination. So that's why I wouldn't really advise on this set. But we can see how it plays out here. So I'm gonna reduce the volume a little bit. Okay, so Ninetales is his Zatu answer. That's great for me. I knew he was gonna have one. And you know, Ninetales turns out to be one of the ones that is worse into switching into 16 psychics, just because of drops and crits, and I'm going to be able to get spikes up very easily with Pineco. I do have Protect AC, and given he has no spikes, this Chinchou is never going to get low. Okay, so let's see, see this, like, right here, this Hitmontop paralyzes, which is, you know, gonna happen eventually. He can't do anything now. Like, if he spins and I explode here, like, I just have spikes into his Hitmontop instead. I don't have a reason to do that right now. Maybe in 100 turns I would do that. But, like, he's just, like, in a terrible position. Because if Hitmontop's job is to prevent the Pineco explosion and to check both of these water types, you can't do both. And you're gonna lose the spikes war eventually if you can't pressure my team. On top of the fact that Zatu is going to eventually be able to make use of the fact that spikes are down, yeah, this is not a good position. So let's see. He goes Sudowoodo because he has to block the explosion. Perhaps I should have gone Octillery there, but it's okay. I don't have leftovers, but I should be able to rest out of crit ranges against this Sudowoodo over time. Because he's not going to be able to spike. I reveal Return, so I'm Rest Talk Return. Return is very specific for if you have no need for HP Electric Octillery, in the case that you have something like a Chinchou, would be one of those examples. And if Ice Beam is not optimal to run, for example, because you... In this instance, it's because I likely don't have a Chinchou switch in, and Octillery is Chinchou food, so if I have Return, I can hit it for a nice, like, 40%, maybe even 50% on switch-in with spikes. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's what Return's for. It's basically for hitting Chinchou and also hitting Grass type neutrally, because HP Electric is not necessary here. And it probably does pretty good damage to Octillery and Hitmontop on the opposing team, so I'll probably be spamming that. This is a scenario that I was talking about where Ninetales is going to take a load of pressure from switching into Zatu over and over again with the spike down, having to rest. That Return is doing a nice 30%, considering I have the spikes advantage. That's going to hurt over time, especially because I have 30 PP. I'm seeing the same sort of flows here, the same game states. Chinchou forcing Hitmontop in, which lets me double the Zatu, then Ninetales has to answer the Zatu, and then I can go Octillery. Rinse and repeat. Yeah, that Return does a nice 30%. I'm going to speed this up because I do think that this is probably going to cycle for quite a few turns. Just basically Zatu coming in on Hitmontop. Maybe I double, trying to catch something. He reveals he's Sunny Day, and I get the Spadef drop, and he has a turn to rest still, so Psychic is super dangerous here for him. He could stay in, try to crit me, and win the game right now, but you don't want to be taking that chance with such a slow team, so he might switch in Hitmontop, he might switch in Octillery, we might see a new Pokemon. Okay, and he reveals Porygon, which I have Rhyhorn for. Okay, so my last Pokemon is, I don't have a Chinchou switch, so it's not Primeape. It's not Stantler. Let's try to guess what my last Pokemon is. It's definitely Weezing, or it's Rapidash. It's definitely Rapidash. Because I need a Primeape switch in, and I need an Octillery switch in, and Rapidash is both of those things. Okay. So, Rhyhorn looks fantastic here. Earthquake against Octillery, especially repeatedly, is just, like, absolutely devastating. His team is terrible against Rhyhorn, with spikes down. Yeah, this looks really good. I call that out though, just pulling out more of an advantage here. Let's see, probably just go back Rhyhorn, yep. And I'm just gonna be able to do this, like, consistently. And this is very scary for him. I really don't see that fantastic of a way to break here from him at all, because Octillery fully checked by Chinchu, Hitmontop fully checked by Pineco and Xatu. Sudowoodo is checked by Octillery. He could crit me and put me in a bad position and then get a self-destruct mind game and win that sort of mind game. He could also stay in as I'm resting and like try to hit me on a bad sleep talk call. Wait, let's rewind because I saw something happened. But this is largely checked by Octillery. Ninetales is fully cooked by Octillery, and this Porygon has the biggest Porygon counter in the game, or in the tier, as Rhyhorn. So I actually don't see a single way he can make any sort of progress as of right now. We'll have to see what the last is. But I do see that. Let's lead to the events that we saw. So I got Rhyhorn in on Porygon. He seems to have made a play here, switching in Hitmontop on the expected Rhyhorn, which is a pretty nice play. So I could go for EQ and try to crit it or get a paralysis, but I think I just go Xatu here and try to collect one, because nobody can switch in on a Psychic anymore besides Sudowoodo. And he probably wants to maintain that health, so he's going to sack Ninetales here for, I'm guessing, the Porygon entry. I'm just going to go Rhyhorn every single time. He goes for Curse as I roar. I wish I just Earthquaked there, because then I could have gotten one Curse up, and then Octillery would have died to an EQ. But I unfortunately just roar the Octillery in, get Chinchu in on that. He's pulling some doubles, right? He's pulling some doubles here on me. Hitmontop on my on my Chinchu, and then my Xatu is obvious, so he's gonna go Pseudo. This is him making basically the only play he has right now of trying to get my Octillery while it's resting, and then using the Sudowoodo to boom a second one, opening up one of the 3 Pokemon he has revealed on his team. That's the game plan. It relies on getting a crit, which he missed, so very unfortunate for him. And then I crit him, and I'm faster. Wow, that's pretty sad for him right there. That was a pretty terrible 2 turns of luck. So he has to switch Hitmontop into Xatu. He does get the spin, which does give him a little bit of momentum here. I do get 1 Psychic on Sudowoodo, but okay, let's slow down. Let's slow down. I do get 1 Psychic on Sudowoodo, which is nice, because damage is more permanent on it, as long as I have spikes down, because it can't recover. But I do need to switch. I always just go Octillery, and he catches that with his Octillery. I would have probably stayed in to get 6% of HP on your Sudowoodo, because that is finite, but he's trying to be aggressive, which I understand. I go Chinchu on his Octillery, and he tries to catch that with Porygon. So that's quite nice for him. He is now in a position where he's going to be able to recover with his Porygon, which was his only Sawtooth switch at this point, it seems. So that was very nice positioning from him to get in a position where he can start to fish for Sudowoodo shenanigans again. Never mind. He goes into Hitmontop not wanting to take a Thunder Wave. I guess he just wanted 6% on Porygon, which I think is fair. I wonder if he's going to double back to Porygon this turn. He does. I should have caught that. I go Xatu. I don't think a Psychic kills it, yeah, so I had to go Rhyhorn. And he gets the better of me there. He does like a solid 5 or 6 turns in a row of getting everything right. And that leads to him being in a position where he can check my Xatu again, so that was pretty good by him. I wouldn't be staying in with the Porygon on the Rhyhorn, because I can get 1 or 2 curses up, and then start Earthquaking. Which is looking like what I'm going to do, but I am going to switch out, I guess, not wanting to get the sleep talk roll, high jump kick, crit into me losing Rhyhorn, into me losing the game, which is fair because I am astronomically ahead right now. I get the spikes up. He's probably trying to catch Rhyhorn right here, thinking I'm not going to want to take a Thunder Wave. But it seems like I just wanted to get my spike down, which was probably not a great play, because if I get Thunder Waved on Pineco, it could be kind of scary. I guess not. I guess not. Like, Hitmontop's not really going to do much. But yeah, he gets another pseudo opportunity in here, which is pretty good for him. He does not get the crit there. I would have maybe stayed in as him and tried to get a crit on my predicted best right here, which does happen. But he is probably looking for a spin opportunity. I go Zatu. He rests, unfortunate, but he's going to be able to go Porygon, and I don't think 2 Psychic skills, and I'm running low on Psychic PP. I only have 8 left. Maybe I'll speed it up again because I feel like we might be in this loop for a second again. Let's see, how many Earthquakes do I have? 12. That's a PP number that can go pretty quickly in games like this as well, so gotta be cognizant of that. Looks like I'm doing some doubles. I don't really have to do many doubles. I can be pretty patient here, just based off my positioning. I think I'm roaring even though it's suboptimal, just because I want to see the last here. And I'm switching Pineco in now to threaten Toxic, it seems, which... Oh no, I think I wanted to force damage on Suit. I don't really know. It seems kind of irrelevant as well. He's not sleep talking anymore because he only has 12 and probably is scared of running out of those, but I don't think it's that scary of a position to run out of sleep talks in favor of trying to get the spin off, which is probably the most important thing for him now. He does get it there. So I hit him with the return. I go Pineco on his Porygon, and it seems like I'm just content to Spikes and take that Thunder Wave, which I think is a sound play, I guess, like thinking it over now a little bit more, because yeah, his Hitmontop can't really pressure me at all long term. And I can paralyze him as well with my Chinchou. He decides to stay in and spin on my Psychic, which risks crit, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do at this point. Okay. I should be Toxicing, but I guess I'm thinking he might rest. Oh, I'm Hidden Power Ice. That makes sense. I'm pretty weak to Dotria, considering my last has to be Rapidash here. I mean, I guess the last could be Execute, but it's definitely Rapidash. Just doing some shenanigans with Pineco, Zatu. This is kind of a boring game. I think it's actually interesting and like watching everything that's happening, but I do understand that this is like not the most appealing thing ever. But something happens here. Let's see. I switch Octillery into Sudowoodo switch. He has enough HP to live with Surf now. Rock slides me there. I get it, because if he crits me, I die. He's in a terrible position right now, super on the back foot. And then he would live barely, maybe get to spin later, and then get Sudowoodo enough HP to potentially explode on something. I think that's the idea. I think you do have to do stuff like that, so I understand why he went for that. But then he lets me collect it here. I would have probably switched, tried to get it back in on something after spinning to explode, or I can't switch Octillery into it anymore if I Surf here and he forces me out. So I would have tried to probably go Octillery here and preserve the Sudowoodo, but I do collect it, so yeah, I mean, it's looking even worse for him now. I just had no reason to rest there if the Sudowoodo was dead on entry without a spin, because I have the buffer of waiting for him to spin before I have to go for the rest, because Sudowoodo can't come in. So I think it was pretty risk-free to surf there. He's letting me curse up with Rhyhorn, which he reveals Wheezing. I have to get out of there because it's HP water, potentially. This Wheezing should have Curse, just looking at the team, because you're too weak to hit on top otherwise. And it's also kind of weak to Deer, and kind of weak to a lot of things like that Curse would help with, such as Wigglytuff, Porygon. Yeah. So I think my goal here is to get a couple curses up and then roar in Hitmontop, at which point I would kill it with Earthquake because it's paralyzed. I unfortunately get Octillery, so back to Chinchu we go, but I think that is my next way of forcing progress. From just looking at this from an analytical perspective, that's the best way of forcing progress for me. Bring in Rhyhorn on Porygon, curse up twice, then EQ the Hitmontop after roaring it in, and if he switches to something else, it is going to take like 80%. At that point, I would be able to go Pineco on probably Porygon on a double, and with my Pineco explode, bringing the game to a 5-2, and I would have enough of an advantage there to win the game 5-2. Is how I would look to close this game out right now. Because, you know, you want to be looking to close out the game when you're in a dominant position like this, because if you don't, that's kind of how bullshit happens. So, yeah. I stay in an Earthquake on the Hitmontop. Kind of surprising, because if he high jump kicks here and crits me, I would be very sad. I think I would go... Oh. No, he still has 6 curses left. This is a misplay by me. I shouldn't be risking this, like, ever. Because if Rhyhorn goes down, Porygon can sweep me, and very likely would sweep me. I would be... I guess the idea is I could go Xatu, but he could go Octillery and then Sleep Talk, Rest, and then I would actually be in a pretty bad position. Yeah, so I don't think this is a very good play by me. It has great upside if I crit, or if he is paralyzed. But yeah, I don't agree with what I did. He's desperate, though, trying to get the Rapid Spin on my Psychic. It's not happening. The Octillery's Xatu sort of mirror is happening now. You don't have HP Electric, as I revealed earlier. It's Ice, because I struggle into Dog Trio, so I have to give this one up for a second. I catch the Porygon with Thunder Wave, and now it's very bad for him. Even if I do lose Rhyhorn now, just because the paralyzed Porygon is just so wanting of a Pokemon. Rhyhorn, Chinchu, back and forth. Trying to just fish for a crit or paralysis, which I think is pretty fair from me at this point. Because he's not able to put out offensive pressure. This Weezing can, and it is Curse, like I suspected, which is a huge threat to my team, because it relies on me hitting Fire Blast with Rapidash, as my Xatu is running out of Psychics. Oh, we get a kill. Let's see what happened. Let's bring it down to normal speed, because it's probably closing out now. Oh, I see. I'm thinking... Okay, he's thinking I'm going to go Chinchu, because that's typically what I do against Octillery, and I have a Fire type. Very reasonable. If I go Chinchu, and he goes him on top, he is able to rest on my Chinchu, and then Sleep Talk, potentially get Rapid Spin, which is starting to actually get kind of dangerous, because I only have 4 Psychics. And if he's able to outlast those 4 Psychics on Xatu, then I'm potentially looking at a situation where I have to explode on the Hitmontop when it's paralyzed, and he could switch on that turn, potentially, getting the prediction right. And then might be able to spin while my Pinecoat is dead. And then it could be kind of a maybe tie scenario, depending on how things shake out from there. So, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm trying to prevent that scenario, I think. And I go for double edge here on the Octillery, which could surf and crit me and kill me, which would be bad. I think my thought process is Rapidash is not necessary to win, as I do have a Xatu for the Wheezing if things get bad, and Curse reveals to me that it's likely not HP Water, but could be. But if it's HP Water Curse, then I have other things for this. So I think my thought process is Rapidash isn't entirely necessary for Wheezing. If I double edge here and catch the Hitmontop, great, I win the game. If I double edge here and stay in, as he stays in, get him down to like 30%, then he crits me with Surf and I die. I think my thought process is, okay, I go Chinchou, and then I Thunderbolt, and then I basically collect a kill by going Rhyhorn on Porygon, which he could bring in Octillery, but then his Porygon is low, his Hitmontop is still low. I would just be putting him in a really bad position. So there's a lot of upside to double edging here and catching something, or just two-shotting the Octillery on the more likely chance that he stays in, surfs, and doesn't crit me. So I think that's why I did it. It is kind of hasty. I could go Chinchou, I could play it out, but I think I was getting worried about my Psychics running out, so I wanted to find a position. And these sort of scenarios where you're so ahead and your opponent is so far behind are the types of scenarios we're going where plays like this makes a lot of sense, because they have to do the correct move every turn, and you can do the obvious thing every turn. And if you do the obvious thing enough, then the unobvious thing is more potent, especially against a player with their back to the wall. So when you have this sort of leniency is when I like to do things like this, to prevent any bad scenarios happening later down the game. So catch the Hitmontop with the double edge. Very bad situation for him now. I'm gonna go Rhyhorn on the Porygon. He has to go Octillery on me. Am I low on Earthquakes? No. I think I'm just trying to preserve PP in bad scenarios. But yeah, now that he doesn't have the Hitmontop buffer, the Chinchou is super free on the Octillery. And that is absolutely fantastic for me because this Porygon is paralyzed. Let's see, Wheezing. Probably gonna go Xatu here, aren't I? No, I go Dash, which is also reasonable. But he's not revealing HP Water. I don't think it's HP Water. I just can't risk it on the 1% chance that it is HP Water. It's just not wise of me to risk that. Porygon died too, so he actually has to go Wheezing on a Chinchou. I'm never going to leave Chinchou in because if it dies, I could potentially lose. Let's see. I'm just going to double edge here. I think I'm probably going to double edge again here. No. I'm just playing it safe. I could probably double edged again there, considering the HP of his Pokemon and the fact that I have Xatu. But I guess I get it right because he rest talks and gets rest, which would have been a bad situation for me if I stayed in. Yeah, that was pretty low risk staying in there. He has to recover. He has to recover again here. And don't press the skip button, Corey. Let's see. This might go on for a little bit here, but I don't really see a way he can win. Like, yeah, it's just there is ways, but it's just so low chance that it's like, yeah. I think I'm trying to get him to use one of his last 6 curses here before going to Rhyhorn, because that would, okay, hold on. That would allow me to play more risky with it if it isn't able to get 6 curses anymore and only has 5. He crits me with the Octillery. I think I'm just using Octillery here because it's basically useless. Like, it's just like a thing for me to potentially make progress with, and if it doesn't, then it's not instrumental to winning the game. So I can play risky with it. He does crit it. It's fine. I don't think I particularly care about it. I'm just staying in probably because I'm like, if I damage it, then it's in a really tough position. And if I don't in rest, then that's also good. That is what happened. I get the worst result, which is return. So that venture didn't go off perfectly, but I don't think I was too careful with it anyways. It didn't really matter. I go Rhyhorn and Rock Slide, it seems, to try to flinch it with the Paralyze, and that's what ends up happening. So now I can collect it with Earthquake. He goes Artillery as a necessity, but now I can go Chinchu and I kill something because I'm faster than Porygon and I would kill it. He could have gone Weezing, but eventually I just go Rapidash and the same thing happens. So he gives up the Porygon, and that's definitely game now. I can go Rhyhorn here. Yep. I don't think he's HP Water, but now it doesn't really matter because Rhyhorn is useless to me. Porygon is dead. He explodes on the Rhyhorn, and that's game here. Let's see if I preserve the kill and go Chinchu. I do. Need to get 5-0 instead of 4-0, I guess. 1 Thunderbolt and 2 Thunderbolts. Quick reflection on the game. Holy crap, 31 minutes of a video. But I guess it was a 172 turn game. Quick thoughts here as I'm starting to get more forgetful. I think my opponent's team is actually quite a strong team if the Hitmontop is HP Rock. If his Hitmontop is HP Rock, this game, like, I am in such a bad position because I can't switch in Sawtooth freely. It would be able to chip away at my my Pineco. If I switch in Rhyhorn to it, he has Octillery. He has a non-paralyzed Porygon because it never has to switch into Chinchu in that situation. It's just like really tough. I wouldn't say it's really tough. It just makes the game way more even. My game plan, if it was HP Rock Hitmontop, would be bring it in, bring Chinchu in, paralyze it, go Pineco, try to spike on it as it paralyzes, and then I can run 50-50 mind games with Explosion. And if I'm able to get the Explosion on the Hitmontop, then the game is over. And if I'm not, then I have to play particularly well with Sawtooth. In that scenario, the game's a lot more close. I think I have the advantage because I get to choose the turn that I explode, which is a very big factor in the success of these longer matches. Whoever gets to pull the trigger has a better chance of winning because they get to choose that moment. But it's a much closer game, and I really like the idea of his team though. Hitmontop spinning for these very big powerhouses, Cursed Weezing, Thief Pseudo, Octillery, and it doesn't have any defensive weaknesses really, so long as you're able to keep that spike off, which he wasn't. I think I would probably do Cursed Pseudo. I don't really like Thief on any team without spikes because I think that the damage from Thief is what makes spikes really powerful on some teams. So I probably would have gone Curse, but I think other than moveset adjustments, I really like the 6. To quickly speak on my 6, it looks like it's I wanted to use Chinchu into him, and as a result of Chinchu being used, you don't really need a Deer or a Stantler to answer Dugong. And so with that freedom, I'm able to use some very like frail mons in Rapidash and Rhyhorn that like serve a very specific purpose and a very strong specific purpose, but because of their defensive weaknesses, they're not super splashable. But having a very niche Pokemon like Chinchou on your team like opens up those opportunities to use Pokemon with very big weaknesses. And then the return Octillery as a result of not having a Deer or a Stantler or a Primeape. I need to have some sort of way to deal with Chinchou, and I think return is a little bit like I'm coping against the matchup here. But with spikes, return over the long term could probably do something. I would just probably have to play the game fast. So that's pretty much the idea of my team. I think my opponent played pretty well. He did a few moves that like accelerated his game state back to a decent position, given what he's working with. And I was just in such a strong position that I was able to play it out to a way that like strongly benefited me. And he had his back up against the wall. So I think like given that the position he was in, he played very well and found the right opportunities to do specific things. I think I did have a few misplays that if I was playing optimally wouldn't have happened. And I wouldn't really call any of his moves misplays. He's just was in terrible positions several times. So I think he actually played very soundly, given the matchup. But yeah, that's my thoughts.